Alright. I mean, a little bit cloudy, but overall, some beautiful weather here. Gonna go for a little drive. Do we take the daily? Or actually, you know what car I have not had out in a minute? The Mustang. Decisions. Let's get the Mustang out here. Go for a little drive. Alright. Before we get into the content of today's video, though, I just want to give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber and longtime subscriber to the channel. So, the channel name is Feel the Drive. So, this YouTuber actually runs a podcast channel. He's got a lot of other YouTubers on, he gets some special guests, and basically runs a pretty cool little podcast. So he actually asked yours truly to be on the podcast. So that was a pretty fun time. We talked, of course, as you'd expect, we talked about cars, but we also kind of talked about life. We even talked about Florida Man.
It's kind of a thing about this debate. You can do it here because we don't have inspections. So anything you do, no one will ever find out you have on your car.
So yeah, we had a pretty cool time. Definitely, I want to see that channel grow because, like I said, he's been a long-time subscriber. Just to leave a lot of comments on the videos, but anyway, I'm gonna leave a link to that down below if y'all want to check that out. I'm hoping if that does good in views, you know, maybe he'll even have me back on the channel. So we had a good time, so I'm hoping to see that channel do well. But anyway, on to the content of today's video. Now it's cold start time. Guys, so those of you who are long-time subscribers to the channel will recognize this car. For those who are new to the channel, this is my 2018 Ford Mustang GT Performance Pack with the manual transmission. So yes, you can say that I'm a big-time manual fanboy, which brings us to the topic of today's video. Can you still daily drive a manual? So letting you all know, I bought this car brand new in 2018 with a manual. Basically, I decided I wanted something for the weekend to drive this manual, and decided, well, alright, I'll have this, and then I'll have, at the time I had my daily driver Tacoma that was an automatic. So, and basically when I first got this car, I drove it on the weekends, and also, I actually did drive it to work a good bit. At the time I had a 10-minute commute back then, so it was nice. And then, of course, earlier this year, in 2020, my automatic Tacoma got totaled, and I went and bought a manual 2020 Toyota Tacoma 6-speed. And everybody basically is trying to tell me now I can't daily drive a manual. And of course, I just wanted to kind of discuss that. Like, is it still practical in 2020 to drive a manual? I mean, a lot of people actually try to tell you, no, you really can't daily drive a manual, and I wanted to kind of make a vlog discussing this topic. Now, as I mentioned, when I first got the Mustang, I basically daily drove it. I drove it, 2-3 times a week to work. In fact, there were a couple weeks when I drove it where I only drove the Mustang. There were times when it was like, man, why did I actually keep the Tacoma? I'm not even driving it. And, people even said, why'd you keep the Tacoma then? You don't drive the Mustang more. And it was like, so at the time I actually said, well, I wanted an automatic I could daily drive. I called that my daily. I didn't really daily it. It wasn't until I got, really after I left that job and went back to school, and then I drove the Tacoma to school, so then it was like, oh, and then I needed an automatic. I thought. I didn't really need one, but I didn't want to drive the Mustang to campus and let it get all dinged and everything. So I drove the truck. So then, of course, that's why I always had it for a while. It was like automatic daily and then manual weekend car. So, kind of where my mind changed on that was when that Tacoma got wrecked. For 2 weeks, until I bought my own truck again, I had to daily drive my dad's 2014 5-speed Tacoma. Now, OGs to the channel will remember I did a review on that truck like about 3 years ago, and I got a good number of views. Basically, it was an enjoyable truck. It's the base model. Basically, my dad went into the dealer and said, I want the cheapest possible four-wheel drive which included the 5-speed at the time. And so I was daily driving that truck for 2 weeks, basically. I had no choice. My dad was lucky enough to let me borrow it. I was lucky enough for my dad to let me borrow it, however you want to say that. And actually going into that 2 weeks, I thought, man, I'm really going to hate having to drive a stick shift truck every single day. And of course, after the first day, I basically said, nah, this is nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. And after the end of that 2 weeks, I said, wait a minute, this is actually a lot more enjoyable than I thought. Like manual, you feel more engaged on the drive. So that was my decision. I was hunting down trucks. I said, you know what, maybe I will just go ahead and get a manual truck of my own rather than another automatic. So that's what led me buying my 2020 Tacoma manual. And I remember as soon as I made the first video on YouTube about it, I got tons of comments about, wow, I know you can't drive a manual, and you can't do that every day, you're gonna hate it. And I remember even some of my friends were like, you're gonna drive a manual every day around here? And now, for those who don't know, I live in the Tampa Bay area in Florida, and we have some of the worst stop-and-go traffic around. I mean, Florida, only in Florida, do you have red lights where you legitimately wait for 5 minutes or more at a time. So yeah, stop-and-go traffic actually does suck in Florida. The whole state, basically, it's one big loop of traffic where you're going to sit at red lights. And I'm always, like right now I'm even slowing down for one that just turned green. So yes, it's not as practical in a lot of people's opinion to daily drive a manual. So, and of course, I actually avoid stop-and-go traffic as much as I possibly can. I got a nice GT350R about to pass me. What if y'all could hear that? Boy, makes me really want a flat plane crank V8. That's something, I'm sorry guys, my Coyote just can't keep up with that. Speaking of manuals, what if the guy dailies it? I mean, I feel like I'm genuinely always waiting at red lights. In fact, I edit it out in videos regularly where I'm waiting at the red lights for 2-3 minutes at a time, because they're just timed awfully here. So yes, I can actually understand a lot of people not wanting to daily drive a manual, why you would prefer an auto. I can see it, but at the same time, it's just not that bad. And I feel like, this is another topic we can kind of go on and on about for a while, but that's, people that don't know how to drive stick these days. Because in 2020, the manual cars being sold, the percentage of manuals has gotten really small. I don't even know what it is now, 5% of cars, 3%. When I bought my Tacoma, someone quoted that's only 3% of Tacomas now that are being sold with manuals. Mustangs are still at 25%, and that's only because the car that's sitting directly in front of me, a GT350R, you still got that one only available as a manual. That sound of that motor though through the manual gearbox, God, that should have bought a Shelby. But you still got plenty of vehicles that can only come as manuals, but it's for the most part, if you want people to declare it to be practical, you just can't daily a manual. And it's that's just simply not true. And I'm actually now in a situation where I have not driven an automatic at all, period. Oh, Godspeed, brother. Godspeed. Gorgeous Shelby Mustang. I'm now in a situation where I have not driven an automatic at all since May. I haven't borrowed anyone's automatic. I haven't driven my mom's car, my girlfriend's car, anybody's automatic at all. So I've literally only driven stick now since May. And I can say this, I just don't understand why people don't like driving stick shift. For me, it's fine. It's become part of my norm, my routine. Now, like I said, my opinion's changed on this topic about can you even daily drive a manual. And I mean, it's changed a couple of different times. Because there was a time when I was learning how to drive manual where I probably would have told you the same thing. I did not want to drive that in stop-and-go traffic. I would not want to drive one every day. And then the reality of it is, it's when you're learning, to me, I feel like when you're learning how to drive stick, you're putting more effort into it. Because it's basically part of the learning process. It's how to drive, too, not even just stick shift. You gotta learn, your brain has to learn how to do it. It's gotta become muscle memory for you. And I feel like when you're learning how to drive stick, it's just not there. So the first time you're stuck in stop-and-go traffic, it hurts your leg's sore, I hate holding this clutch. And, then you hate it, and it's like and then you get it in your mind like this is horrible and I don't ever want to do this again, and I think that's why some people have that opinion. And then also, like, some people talk about just cars that are completely impractical to drive every day in stop and go traffic. Like, you know, oh, I got a hard clutch. It's like, well, first of all, I mean, you got a racing clutch. I don't know why you would want to daily drive something with a stiff clutch and stop and go. Anyway, I wouldn't. Or even like the Mustang I'm driving now, it had this really annoying clutch pedal quirk where the clutch was sunken in several inches further than all the other pedals. So I either had to put the seat ridiculously far up or I'd strain my leg at every red light. And it just got to the point where I was annoyed with it. I went and bought a clutch pedal spacer. So now I could easily daily drive this car. Before, I said the same thing about this car. I hate driving it in stop and go. I hate driving stop and go in an automatic too, because you still put all that stress on your right leg, lifting up and down on the brake pedal. But at the same time, it's just like, I can see why people hate it. If you got a car that's not properly set up for it. And the Mustang I could do it in. The Tacoma, I easily love that as a daily, just because that's a very easy to drive manual. There's simply nothing that just makes it difficult, and I wish more manuals were like that. I mean, give me a manual that's easy to drive, and I'm gonna enjoy it a lot. Like the Mustang, even it's still pretty easy to drive. It's a little bit quirkier, but overall, it's a fun to drive manual. I learned on my dad's 5-speed Tacoma, which is a little bit trickier. It doesn't have all of like the removal of the feeling that you get in a modern manual. So it's a little bit more of an old school design, but I think that was the intention of it. It was also much cheaper. That was the cheapest possible 4x4 truck in 2014. So that's part of the charm about that truck. But even getting stuck in that and stop and go, it's just not bad if you're competent to learn how to drive manual. And I can go on about how manuals are dying too. That's another one it's another topic for another vlog, and I mean, I can easily make that. I think these days people just aren't learning how to drive it to the point where nobody wants to daily it. I mean, of course, this is coming from the American perspective. I know everyone in Europe, I get some European subscribers, like, oh, everyone drives manual in Europe. And even, I've read articles that say Europe, they're even declining. But, I mean, personal opinion, I'd much rather have a manual shifting my own gears. And of course, even in performance cars, yeah, everyone's like, well, automatics are faster. And I think because people just don't know how to drive manuals, the sales are going down. Automakers don't want to sell them as much. Like, my Tacoma, I had to drive 2 hours away to go get it. And then everyone's like, oh, wow, you only had to drive 2 hours to go pick up the rare Tacoma like that. And I was like, yep. I even got lucky having to do that. So, yeah, a lot of places, automakers won't sell them, dealers don't want to keep them on the lot. It's just getting to the point where if you don't already know how, it's just much harder to learn. So I think that's a big reason why manuals are declining and people just don't want to daily them anymore. Oh, until then, I will continue to daily a manual. I have no intention of ever not dailying manuals now. Honestly, as long as they continue to make manual vehicles, I'll be buying them. And I mean, I just don't think manuals are even going to go away completely either, because I just see that as they're always going to be around. I mean, it's like two other great loves of mine. I love vinyl records and I love film photography. Film photography, of course, I've even made vlogs about it on here, so you can say that I love it. So I'm kind of a hipster in a way. So I'm going to continue driving manuals. I just want to start this kind of discussion in this vlog. Like, what's everyone's thoughts on dailying a manual? I mean, is anyone here out there that subscribes to this channel? I want to know who daily drives manuals. Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know what you think about this. I mean, who out there would rather drive a manual? Give me your reasons why you don't want to drive a manual. I want to hear if anyone's got a reason why they prefer an automatic over a manual. Let's hear it. And anyway, if you like this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. If you are stopping in for the first time, go ahead and subscribe, because I want to continue bringing you all kind of discussions like this. Hopefully pretty soon we'll be getting back into car shows. There are starting to be a handful around here in Florida. We're not back to every weekend like we were, or even sometimes every day, But that's hopefully gonna happen soon. I'm hoping that as the weather starts to clear up here, we're getting out of the peak rainy season, I can get back to some photo vlogs. And like I said, I've got another video I've been planning for a while in mind, so I want to keep going with some of these videos. But anyway, subscribe for all of that. But anyway, take care. Have a good day.